How's it going, guys? What you're going to see is a match that I promised I've been posting for about a week since the match actually took place on the weekend. I promised I'd post it, and here I am following through with it. The match features a bit of everything, and I find it to be pretty entertaining on its own because it features attack boat strategy here as my flank around this island. You'll see why in a minute, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It'll feature attack boats, chopper, gunner, infantry gameplay, in the carrier assault. And the reason why it's important that I mention this as I go around and flank here is because in that boat is XFactor, and me and him basically fight for MVP this entire game as the match turns out well. The reason why I mention the flank is so important is because, in full disclosure, he had crushed me using that same move earlier. He went around, I went straight for the flag, and I got 2 TV missiles to the back of the boat and was destroyed. So I figured I'm going to try and do the same the next round, and it worked. So learning from, and there's a nice hit on a nice RPG hit on the boat, which I found pretty entertaining too. But it's always figuring out patterns and trying to figure out how the player plays. So the best players out there are the ones that don't have habitual patterns. And in this case, it just happened to work out well that XFactor did the same move I did previously, and I got him using the same move he did to me previously, which was entertaining on its own. But the match here, like I said, it's got a bit of everything, and like I said, again, the reason why my strategy worked on XFactor was because we exchanged basically different techniques that we had previously done in previous matches. The problem being that I got completely crushed by the other boat because I was so worried about not trying to get juked by XFactor again like I did in the previous round, and the other attack boat just completely laid waste to me. And that's, I guess, the key, always just before you rush into a circumstance, even if you're trying not to get your ass posted on YouTube for getting obliterated, to make sure the coast is clear before you go forward. And like I said, the reason why I wanted to post this match is basically because it features a bit of everything. I find it pretty entertaining on its own as XFactor and I fight for MVP. And I guess a lot of people asked me for this video. They said I was on it. They saw me playing on his stream and they wanted to see how the match turned out. And I guess people like to see matches against other YouTubers so they can either gauge the strategies that their two people they watch use against each other in real live time, and I guess basically how each person holds up on their own. Plus, in addition, me being the YouTuber, I guess it's pretty interesting to see two different channels you follow duking it out or teaming up. But unfortunately for me, I usually don't follow a lot of other YouTubers, so I can't get complained of stealing any of their information or anything like that. I just don't really follow many. You can't accuse me of anything. And unfortunately, though, that being the case, most of the time I don't get the chance to either interact with or team up with other YouTubers. But and unfortunately, the ones that I have within the past have wanted to team up, but they're basically into trolling videos, and you guys know I don't do that, so it wouldn't be any good to team up with each other. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But going back to XFactor itself, we had played in 2 different servers. One was a rush server, and this one's the carrier assault one, as you might expect. In the rush servers, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of good rush servers in Battlefield 4, which sucks because it's actually my favorite game mode. I wish there were a lot more. It's a lot of fun that way. But the rush ones were brutal because of how stacked the teams were. XFactor was basically just picking off the remaining guys that came close. That server was so stacked up for his team that our team couldn't even reach the shore without getting javelined or smawed. Our hover boats, our attack boats were destroyed halfway before the islands, and then once you were in the water, you were sniper bait, and that was the end of it. So I left that server, and then a few minutes later, XFactor joined the carrier assault one I was in, and of course he was put on the other team, so we ended up fighting it out for MVP for a while. And with regard to the Rust servers, I don't have any good ones out of that. Like I said, those matches were really rough. But when it comes to the carrier assault ones, you'll see this gameplay here, and you'll see another one which I'll post again in the near future where he gets the best of me, he wins the match, but I did particularly well in the Scout Hellion, so you'll see that one as well. Next up, for those inquiring about XFactor, like how he plays, if he's as good as his channel suggests. And basically I can say that having never played against the guy before in Battlefield 4, I've had a match against him in Battlefield 3 where we didn't really interact much. We went 1-on-1 and killed each other. I can say yes, he's absolutely very good. Basically I had to keep an eye out for him and his clan and buddies, the XW guys, or the XW, I'm not sure if they're clans or friends. I don't really watch and follow clans or anyone outside of YouTube and that, but I had to keep my eye out for him basically the entire match, in addition to actually keeping an eye out on the scoreboard itself. He's the kind of player that demands that kind of attention. You have to always be aware of where he is. And plus, what's weird as it is that 6 months into Battlefield 4's lifespan, I hadn't played against any well-known or bigger YouTubers at all that I was aware of. If there's channel guys around my size, 10 or 20,000, either I completely missed them or I just don't know who they are, and I might have missed them, and maybe you guys would have seen them and I wouldn't. But I hadn't played against any at all in nearly the 6-month lifespan Battlefield 4 had been out. Most YouTubers tend to play in the same carrier assault maps now and the same rush ones because they're just, like I said earlier, they're just not a lot of great ones out there. But despite this, I hadn't played against any of them at all. But what's weird is last weekend, not only did I get in multiple matches against XFactor, I actually 2 days after that happened to get in a server against the Russian Badger for a few matches, and I have a few of those, a few videos that I'll be posting of that as well. So 2 days apart, 6 months. 2 days apart, two different bigger YouTubers that play Battlefield 4. 6 months before that, absolutely nothing. Go figure, right? Absolutely bizarre how it works out sometimes. Well, before I talk about, I guess, the attack chopper's got a nice buff in the latest patch. This pilot here was basically very conservative in how he played. You'll see a much more aggressive pilot because we get taken down in a second or two here. But I spawned in again after that with a different pilot. He was far more aggressive, but we just rained hell on this carrier once it got opened up, which was interesting too. But basically, before I get into that, it seems as if every video I've posted lately I've talked about a new strategy in terms of attack boats. And my strategy, again, has gone back to my usual first loadout with TV missiles, the 30mm cannons, which I never actually took out of my loadout. And I experimented with smoke. The IR smoke to hopefully break locks of javelins and the SOFLAMs, PLDs of the recons, but it doesn't really work out as much. It just doesn't for the most part. You can't really break the locks consistently, and then after that you're sort of dead in the water. Because the one thing I really wish they do is give people an incentive to use something other than active protection. If, for instance, you put the timer on the cooldown to smoke to say 10 seconds instead of what it is now at 15, 18, something like that, it gives you more of an incentive to use it. Because the cooldown is so high on that, the clear definitive option is to almost always go APS. It doesn't make sense to use anything else. So that's why APS is the clear option I think you should use in terms of strategy. Plus the other thing too is a lot of people, whether they're aware or not, is that TV missiles go through active protection. So a lot of the time, if you're attacking using the attack boat, the best strategy for you to use is to actually, whether you're using the burst fire or whether you're using the 30mm cannons like I do, is to use those first. Put in that 20 or so damage into the other team's enemy boat, inflict that damage, and then when he pops APS, just finish him with your TV missiles, because the TV missiles will pierce the APS, so you don't have to worry about them not connecting. And at the same time, you pop APS as you're firing your TV missiles, and unless he has TV missiles and firing them first, you can still take care of just about all of the energy on his boat, and you don't have to worry. So that's a quick tip and new loadout strategies. This end part where I'm playing Assault on the Carrier, I'm using my trusty AEK. I know a lot of people want variety, and I've been working on that, but the AEK I just feel such a good gun for just about all circumstances. And in a good player's hand, it can make them really good. In a good shooting person's hands, it can make you almost godly. And for me, a lot of people prefer that strategy of trying out different guns all the time, but it's not. That's not how I get my satisfaction. My satisfaction is regularly dominating and winning matches. That's me. That's different from a lot of other people, but hey, that's what it is. Subjectivity is a wonderful thing in this world, and that's mine. But using the AEK here, before I went off on that side rant, was basically just clearing up this section, because we had already taken that first MCOM, and the next section of MCOMs and Carrier Assault is on the bottom floor, and their attack boat actually happened to spawn back here. And if we didn't take out these guys and their attack boats, then not only would they be able to spawn in front of us and basically attack us from the front, but attack boats and people spawning behind us would sort of pinch us in, and that would have really done quite a bit of damage to us in terms of pushing the attack here. But that was the match against XFactor. Stay tuned for more against XFactor and some Russian Badger ones as I win this match. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.